11 goals in the Serie A. For 7 of them to be at the 0-0, he unlocks the match. He gives them that push. And now he's also a cult hero in Naples. Like, he's embraced it. He said, I've never tasted tomatoes so good in my entire life.
Okay, so we got to talk about the run-in, right? Napoli sitting pole position. They got a nice little stretch ahead of them with a bit of an easier schedule coming up, Marco. Does it feel like they have one hand on the Serie A title?
So I've been scared to say it all season because, you know, I wanted Napoli to win. I think it's a beautiful story. The fact that they won their first title in 33 years, just 2 years ago, and now they could do 2 in 2 years. It's incredible, and it's because of Antonio Conte. I have to say now, we've seen a 6-point swing where Inter was up by 3 points, and now Napoli are up by 3 points, and I think it's finally done. I think Napoli have secured the Scudetto, which nobody in Italy is going to like to hear because we're a very superstitious country, and especially in Napoli, they don't like to say that it's done before it's done. But I don't see an Antonio Conte team slipping up in 4 games. They have one match that they could have a tie-in, and then they only need 3 wins, and the title's done, and that's not considering Inter dropping any more points.
And not considering Inter trying to chase Champions League, right?
That's right.
The distraction. But help me understand. How does a Napoli side get rid of one of their best players, if not their best player, in Kvaratskhelia? He goes to PSG, and still win the Scudetto? What has he done that has changed the narrative at Napoli, who have been able to overcome a powerful, experienced Inter side?
For me, Conte leaves no stone unturned. Every single match is built like a Champions League final for his team. So they're never going to lack on the attitude. They're never going to lack on the energy. Their big problem is scoring goals. That's huge gapping error for them. But what do they do better than anyone else? Anyone else in Europe, they've conceded the fewest goals. Yeah. And when you look at who they've had in their back line, Buongiorno was their big money signing. He's only played 22 games. It's not like he's only been the guy there. So they're really good at competing in matches, even in the top matches, the games against Inter. Inter was not able to beat Napoli, even though they have such better technical players than them, and they should be better than them, they're not able to. So he gives this competitive edge to his team. Every single player plays out of their mind, and then with the way that he plays in the 3-5-2, he gives the 2 center midfielders, Lobotka sits deep, but it's the 2 center midfielders, the 8s, Anguissa and McTominay, they got freedom to run. You're seeing Scott McTominay be central to a project where he scored 11 goals in Serie A, 7 of them have been the 0-0, when the game's at 0-0. So he is the changing factor, and this is not a surprise. Conte did it with Pirlo, with Pogba, with Vidal, with Marquinhos. That midfield, they had those 2 guys. They would have the freedom to run, the Pogba and Vidal as well. So that's tactically how he was able to get the most out of the team.
Okay, you talk about Scott McTominay, Scott McSauce, as they used to call him back in England. We're going to give him the Geico Get More player of today. And how can Antonio Conte and Napoli get more out of Scott McTominay?
I think he's getting the most out of him. I think he's getting more than any other coach, any other team has ever seen. I have to say, for me, Scott McTominay, even last season with Manchester United, he scored some amazing goals for the club, some goals that were absolutely crucial. Right now, he's living his best life. No one could have expected him to get to this point, but it's because he's central at a project. They've put him in this position, and I think when you look at it, Conte loves Premier League players. Why does he love Premier League players? Because it's a more physical league. It's a more demanding league. They play at a higher tempo. But what can he do? Tactically, he says, I want you in this position. You are allowed to make this run in. So he's kind of blended the 2 parts of football that are the most important, the physicality of it, of course, but then tactically the awareness of where he's supposed to be. So you look at all his goals, a lot of his goals are the same. It's those late runs into the box, they're finding him, and no one's able to handle him because of how crucial he's been.
And that's the difference between McTominay playing at Manchester United, where he's responsible for protecting the back 4. Also, he might make those late runs into the box, but he's really asked to defend.
Exactly.
Here, he has the freedom. He's getting a lot more touches in the box in the final third. Would you say he is the Serie A player of the year if Napoli win this?
If Napoli win, it has to be him. There's an argument for Lukaku, and I think Lukaku gets overlooked too and disrespected. There's people with this old narrative of him. They still call him overweight. They say all these things about Lukaku, but he's also crucial. He's got double-digit goals and assists. The only other player in Europe is Salah to have those numbers. So that's first of all. And without Lukaku, the team would struggle, but it's hard not to give it to him. I said the stat before, 11 goals in the Serie A. For 7 of them to be at the 0-0, he unlocks the match. He gives them that push. And now he's also a cult hero in Naples. Like, he's embraced it. He said, I've never tasted tomatoes so good in my entire life. So that family aspect to it, the aspect to be happy in a place, is something that you guys could speak to more than I can, but I think it makes a massive difference for a player.
Anthony is speaking of that as well.
Yeah, why you gotta look at me when you say that?
I'm just saying.
Manchester United's the problem. It's not the players.
Europa League, bro. Let me have my moment in the sun. Okay, so Napoli, they look to be on their way there. But to get over the finish line, you got some keys for them to get there. So what are the 3 keys for you in order for them to get both hands on the Scudetto?
So I'll say they're doing these things already. They just need to continue doing these. Stay solid defensively. They found out that Buongiorno's done for the rest of the season. He's out. But guess what? Even when he's had to play Juan Jesus, who's played 33% of the games, they still have the best defense. So the rumor is he played Marin. Marin is a player that I didn't even hear of. He played 23 minutes, and then he has to start him in an important match. Now they're saying Oliveira, who played center back for Uruguay, but he's a natural left back, is going to play in the center back position for their big game against Lecce. So keep that defensively. I'm very confident that Napoli don't lose games because they don't concede goals. Sometimes their problem is how do we unlock it? But this is the first thing. This is rule 1 of a Conte team is we are not going to concede goals. You come and try to beat me, and then we'll hit you on the counterattack. Key number 2, as we have it here on the screen, is roll with the punches. They have dealt with so many injuries this season. Neres is one of them. He's also done for the rest of the season. So what has Conte had to do when Neres is out? Because they lost Kvara, and when you lose Neres, you can't play 4-3-3 anymore. So he puts Raspadori in. Raspadori, a player who's on the bench all of the time, he'll switch from 4-3-3 to a 4-2-4. Right? Or a 4-4-2 or a 3-5-2. He's able to adapt and change all of these things. And an important moment, Raspadori in February, when Neres went down and everyone was ruling Napoli out of the Scudetto, Raspadori came in 4 starts, he scored 3 goals and earned them 4 points. So he was a difference maker. The fact that you could still get a decisive player from the bench who doesn't get a lot of minutes, he deserves to play a lot more. That's a big thing, and they just got to keep rolling with the punches. Even if Neres is out, even if Buongiorno's out, you got guys on the bench.
Or Kvara's out and you don't replace him.
Big thing. Big miss for them. So that's number 2, which I said they're already doing the entire season. And the first one, don't get complacent.
Big one.
And I said it before, I'll say it again. There's no other coach in the world that I would want in this position than Antonio Conte, because he's going to build this game up against Lecce like they're fighting for their lives. Like there's no bigger game you're ever going to play. And I think that aspect, you see it all around football. Big team against a little guy, little team that is fighting for their lives as well. You could kind of overlook Lecce. You could say, all right, we still have more games to play. No. That does not exist in a Conte team, and that can't exist for Napoli, because I will say it now. I already said last week that I think the Scudetto was decided last week when Roma beat Inter. If they win this game, that's it.
Ciao?
I don't see.
Wow.
Genoa has nothing to play for. Parma's been picking up crazy points, and I think Cagliari will be safe by then. So this is the last game that matters a lot. Also because Lecce, they just lost their trainer. He passed away, and they were forced to play a game, and they're really upset about that. Points are massive for them to try to stay in the Serie A. And Conte's from Lecce. His family lives there. So there's a lot of family ties, so I think that's the most emotional game for them.
So when we think of Scudetto winning teams, right? When we think of championship teams all around world football, you have your star players, you have the faces, your MVPs. But who is one of the unsung heroes of these Napoli sides? Because you had that with Di Lorenzo in the first iteration of the Scudetto winning side. Who is it for this side?
Anguissa, right?
Anguissa. I don't know if we would say unsung, though, because, I guess a lot of people would consider him an important player.
Overlooked.
He is overlooked.
Oh, he's been
McTominay, Lukaku, even Labaka. But I think Anguissa is one of those players in terms of getting up and down. He offers so much to that side and often gets overlooked.
I would throw Politano's name there, just because he's a name that we just don't mention. I feel like Anguissa, we do bring him up, like he's on the graphic, for example, right? Politano is one that, even if he has to play as a wing back, as a right wing back, or as a right wing, or a second, he does it all. And he's the only player in the squad that has a little bit of speed, that could beat his man 1v1. That's a big problem at Napoli, is that they don't have a lot of players from those characteristics. So I would throw Politano in there.
I got a question for you, last one. What happens to Napoli next year?
Oof.
Does Conte stay? Is there troubling brewing behind the scenes that he's been able to just focus on the team and put that aside?
There's big rumors that he could leave. And he's even come out and said, listen, I need to sit with the president and say, what is the project of Napoli? He doesn't want to just go to a team to then lose your most important players. He wants to build something solid. I will say this, though. With Conte, you never know what's going to happen. He's left teams in July. During their preseason, he left Juventus, and no one expected it. So you can't rule anything out. Napoli is the most healthy team financially in Italy, and people don't realize this. I think they could spend massively this summer. I think they could spend 150, 200 million this year. Osimhen is going to be sold. They didn't invest the Kvara money. And again, out of all the team, they're the ones that doesn't have debt. They're the one that is making money. So as long as De Laurentiis and Conte are aligned, I think they could build something special here. So I'm banking on that. If they don't spend, then he's gone. If they do spend, he stays.